Good morning! Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special Atheist Church. What's so special about it, you might ask? Well, look. I have a special guest, Mr. John Ross. Let's meet him, shall we? Thanks for coming on Atheist Church.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
In Atheist Church.
This is Atheist Church, yes. Isn't that nice?
Outdoor revival.
Right.
Meeting.
Yeah, so you were the Christian on the first leg of the Coexist comedy tour.
Yes, I was.
And what's it like going on stage and talking about religion? How was that for you?
It's pretty good. I liked, going out there and sharing the absurdities of my religion as opposed to other absurdities of atheism and Hinduism and all the other religions that were represented. So I had fun. It was always a good, safe place to do that where we could all take a joke and give a joke. So.
And speaking of that, you were very critical of the Christian church with things like where the money is spent from the tithe, the kind of priorities that they make, people worrying about cursing and stuff like that instead of bigger problems. Did you ever get any flack from any fellow Christians?
Not necessarily flack, but definite shunning. You know, like a lot of people wouldn't talk to me about it. Some religious parts of my family, they confronted me a few times, but...
And some of them were worried about your association with the likes of me.
Right, yeah. Actually, I had an unnamed family member, brother-in-law.
How does someone not get a name? Like, they just didn't want to name him?
Right, well, the lazy mother. No, but one of them said, you shouldn't be mixing religions like this. It's kind of like the end days. It talks about, all the religions becoming one to usher in the apocalypse. And
so we were bringing in the apocalypse?
Right, yeah. I thought it was going to be the 4 headless horsemen, but it turns out it's just going to be 5 comedians.
Some comics, yeah.
That are going to usher in the second coming. So
I'm Pestilence. It sucks that they turned out to be right. that we were such a bad influence on you. Yeah. You wouldn't qualify to be the Christian comedian on the new leg of the tour, would you?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
What happened?
Calm down, the celebration, atheists. But
which is the last thing I wanted. Like, we got one. But no, you've had from a crisis of faith to a dismissal of faith, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I think Keith and I saw it coming. Maybe even at the beginning of the Coexist comedy tour, I was still kind of debating and going back and forth, and I still won't go as far to call myself an atheist. And I don't know whether that's like Christian residual fear. Looking at Christian faith, I can see how ridiculous things are, and I'm not so like hippified by it where I'm like, ooh, all religions are one. I'm like, oh well, if Christianity's bullshit, so is everything else.
Right. One thing that I've always admired about your comedy, even before I saw you do Christian comedy, you had a rough upbringing. Your parents were addicted to heroin. Your mother died of an overdose.
Yeah.
And you talked about it on stage. You're actually right there on stage talking now about losing your faith. And you have some great bits about that. What's the response been like to that?
It's actually been better. There would be times like where we'd be, boning up for Coexist comedy tour stuff. So we'd go do little shows, like open mics to try to get your stuff ready. And when you're pitching religion to people,
yeah,
when they're not there they don't expect it to be a religious-based show. They just like, geez, like I don't want to hear a bunch of Jesus jokes or church jokes. But now, like after like stepping away from the faith, it's actually more received. That material, because I think people maybe relate with the separation of it more. It's actually being received fairly well. I don't know whether the material's better or if it's just more relatable, or it's actually adaptations of stuff I was using in Coexist and then just turning the other way without stepping on Keith's job of being the angry militant atheist.
Yes, that's me. Angry militant atheist here.
As you know
by the way, this is just for being a Christian in the past.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about what it's like no longer being a Christian and walking around with those really lame tattoos?
Well, here on my calf, when I was 18 years old, I decided to get the dove, the descending dove, which is sometimes mistaken for a Chevy symbol at first glance. So yeah, I've got that one, That was my claim to fame with that one was it was done by the same tattoo artist that does all social distortion stuff, which somehow didn't make that cooler.
No.
That was the thought.
And you do a joke about the tattoo artist trying to talk you out of it? Is that true, or
no?
No, okay.
No. I just know it was a really stupid tattoo, and I'm like, all right, how could I?
And that's nothing to do with losing your faith. Even before, you were like, oh my goodness, what do I have on my leg?
Believe me, as a Christian, I knew that tattoo was lame.
Not the day you got it, but the day after.
Right. Very shortly.
You woke up the next morning.
Yeah.
You're hungover from being drunk on the Spirit.
Right.
Hungover on the Spirit.
Hungover in the Spirit, yes. I have one here on my neck meat area.
Neck meat.
And this is even more horrible. It's actually kanji Japanese, which is a bad tattoo no matter what it says.
Unless you're Japanese.
Well, even then.
And it says your mom's name or something.
Right.
Let's not deny them the right to have their mom's name.
That's right. That's right. I didn't even think of that. I'm sorry, Japanese people.
So insensitive. But go ahead. What do you got written on there?
So, I think it says Jesus in kanji Japanese.
But you haven't checked it with any.
I don't know. Yeah. My friend, you met him. He has a tattoo. He has kanji Japanese symbols, and we were in an In-N-Out Burger, because that's where Christians hang out all the time. The Bible verses.
In-N-Out is a Christian, formerly Christian-owned. I don't know who owns it now, but the man who started it, there's Bible verses on every cup. A lot of people don't notice that. It's pretty funny.
But he had one that said, he thought it said faith. and this Asian guy, he's like, hey, what does that mean? And he's like, faith. And he's all, no, it means buoyancy. He's all, that's the symbol for buoyancy. Me and my buddy, we just started laughing. He's all, well, that's kind of faith, right? Like, so he twisted it into a faith message.
And we could totally draw all kinds of parallels about how Christians are good at doing that.
Right.
No, what it says is, you see...
He didn't miss a beat. He's like, no, that's faith.
So, here's a memory this has always been funny to me. And I joked about it a little bit on stage. But you actually came to me and said, I'm having a little bit of a crisis of faith. I was surprised at my own reaction, because I didn't go, woohoo, let's win John over for our side. I was like, oh, well, I mean, I come from a Christian family. I wanted to take it very seriously. So you were basically telling me this because you wanted some books to read. And I gave you Sam Harris, Nietzsche,
right,
and C.S. Lewis.
Yes, which,
I felt it necessary to give you someone who made a strong argument for Christianity. And it was like, I've had friends that come to me and say they're breaking up with their girlfriend. And it's a girlfriend that I don't like. Right. And I could just say, good, kick her to the curb, finally. Thank goodness. And then 2 weeks later, I'm the best man at their wedding going, I always knew they were a great couple. And it's just that awkwardness. So it was surprising to me that I felt that kind of responsibility.
I was too. I was surprised. More so, since I knew you came from a Christian family, the reason I even came to you is because I'm like, how did you let go of faith? Like, how did it happen? Because it was tough. Like, oh man, like it really, like even now, like I'll talk to Christians and all I will do is just give them the reasoning of why I stepped away. And I don't bash their faith. I don't go, you should get away, because I'm like, man, this is like a really hard thing to do and personal thing to do, and it could ruin you. I mean, really, and so Keith kind of was my mentor as far as be compassionate, even from a stance of, you don't need to hurt the person's feelings or be a jerk about it. Just be rational, and rationalism actually won in my mind. Because if Keith would have just said, man, you're a queer, or something,
I did say that a few times, but I didn't mean it in a bad way.
Right. It's a good thing. No, sorry.
Some nice boys I wanted to introduce you to, and I thought you guys would get along well.
But, no, so I thought it was, what?